Hi beautiful beings. So this is the Galactic Mayan Astrology report for Saturday the 22nd of July. And during this Wavespell, there are many things that are happening. I'm currently up ridiculously early, which isn't my thing. I have like leisurely mornings. And yeah, today I've got loads of stuff to do, so I was like, oh yeah, and I need to film there. So I'm like awake at a time that I'm not normally awake at, and I'm also going into channel and like doing a slight human interaction even though it's through video. So it's all new here, all fucking new here. Finished the cosmic clock last night, flipping heck. It was amazing. I'm just really remembering. I feel like this year has been a real remembering of the things that like light me up, and that I'm, you know, that where all my tools and skills and magic powers can come in. And yeah, holding group containers is a big part of that. So watch this space because there'll be more things coming in this coming year. If you haven't watched it yet, there is a video that I've done that is all about the vibes of the new year that we're moving into. I'm not one of those YouTube people that can be like, dink, there's a link. So instead, I'll just make you troll through my YouTube channel to find it. But it might be interesting, and it means that I don't need to go into the cosmic days, as in shifting into the new year in this video. This can be about the Wavespell, but it's just that recognition of like the sandwich of energy that we're in all the time. So we're collectively completing the year of red self-existing moon and shifting into the white overtone wizard. So that's going to be a vibe that happens on, so Tuesday's the day out of time. Again, if I could do that, like, here's a link. There's a video that I made years ago, which I cringe at now. Maybe one day I'll do a new one. That's all about the day out of time. Because when we've got this 13 moon experience, we have 28-day moons, and then we have this like bonus day. So yeah, troll through my YouTube and find that as well. So yeah, on Tuesday we've got the day out of time. A group of us are going to be doing a really magical activation then. And then on Wednesday is the new year, which is cool. So that happens on, yeah, the 4th and 5th day of this Wavespell. So what's this Wavespell then, I hear you ask? What is this 13-day process that we're moving into? It's my birth Wavespell, which is cool. So on the 12th day of the Wavespell, it's my Mayan birthday, red crystal dragon over here. But the Wavespell that we're moving into is the white dog. There's a lot that I can say about it, and I will say a lot of things about it, but I think particularly when it's, you know, archetypes that we embody and journey with deeply, you know, we can really draw upon our personal experience to contextualize. So the white dog is all about relationship. It's all about heart. It's all about love. It's all about soulmates. So one of the like things, the taglines is the companions of destiny. Often are magnetised through the white dog. And yeah, so really what the white dog brings is this like theme of relationship, and where do we start? Our coding around relationship, our birth family. So after kind of consciously, you know, journeying with the Mayan Calendar and also, you know, doing personal development for a long time now, I've kind of unravelled the conditionings, a lot of the conditionings that I received in terms of family relationship, and that's been my path, and it will always be my path too. But I'm kind of on the higher octave now, as opposed to it being operating from the wound. I'm in the like, here's the medicine, and living in the, you know, the afterglow of some really gnarly journeying. But yeah, white dog really kind of reveals to us how we replay these stories of our early life with family and the wounding. You know, a lot of A lot of people that have got white dog energy have had really difficult family relationships for one reason or another. And, you know, essentially it's this thing of how do we as a collective go from wonky relationship to loving relationship? And it's an interesting time on the planet because there aren't really so many, maybe they're beginning to be, but so many models of healthy relationship. And that means that it's quite difficult for us to navigate these waters because it really is like a coming into truth within and so without. So within this Wavespell, there may be reactivation of some of your family codes. So if you had like a mum that was a so-and-so that behaved in such and such a way, or a dad that was whatever and behaved in such and such a way, the primary imprint of that mother and father become our inner mother and father. So even before we translate this into how we relate with the other, primarily the inquiry is like, how do I embody the energy that I received? So to have an absent father, how do I abandon myself? You know, and it's that, but all the way along and all the way through. So once we kind of can check in with like, okay, what was the template I received when I was a tiny human taking in data about the human experience and building a belief system? Okay, I learned that this and this, they were my imprints. And it's not, it's like the way that they were behaving toward us, and also, you know, how they related to, and that becomes our like inner primary relationships, mother, father, child. Then though, we get to see, and this is the bit that's really hard, we then get to witness how we are that. And you know, it might not be mum and dad, it might be other family members, but it's essentially like, who were you dead close to when you were little, and how was your relationship with them? So once we've kind of clocked this inner, it's then recognizing, oh, and then I embody that on the outside like that. And this is the stuff that, you know, the psyche, these shadowy parts of us, are really good about and with not being clocked, not being witnessed. And, you know, we can kind of go through this like shadowy unconscious behaviour for a really long time before we feel strong and safe enough, essentially, to be able to look at it. And this is something that I've really noticed in the past few years. Like, in order to really do shadow work in terms of looking at our toxicity as opposed to our victim story, we have to have already built quite a strong foundation and container of self-worth, because to be able to open to our wonky shit and not want to die, there's got to be another part of us that exists that's able to do the leaning in. So if there are people in our lives that are really giving out some toxic behaviour, it's like, how are you not seeing that? Like, what is going on there? Just that recognition that, like, until, you know, there's got to, for them to see it organically themselves, you might need to go and tell them. You might need to reflect that, you know? You might need to check in with where you're at, what it's hooking into for you and all of that. But sometimes, you know, we do have blind spots that need loving community. But this is the thing, it's like that loving container internally or externally, where we are like, wow, that's toxic as fuck, and I love you and I'm going to support you through it, but it's toxic as fuck. So that being part of our inner thing, and you know, within, when we look at this, like the primary relationships that we had modelled to us, that recognition then of like, okay, so before I go into the toxic behaviour towards self or toward other, what's going on there? What's happening? What are the needs in that moment? And this is another really big aspect to White Dog. It's like, you know, really identifying our needs, and perhaps for the first time having to like feel into how the fuck do I actually meet that need, because it's never been met before. It's only ever been suppressed, it's only ever been projected, it's only ever, you know, whatever it is. So there's this like slowing that we're invited to do within this Wavespell, to kind of notice like, ooh, before that thing happens, when that thing's come up, like what's in there, and how can I create this new relationship primarily with myself that then reflects outward into other relationships. And equally, you know, recognizing that we do have these like patterns of energy. So the way that these stories seem to work is that we experience the thing and then we continue to magnetize the thing, and it might come through with a person that's got a different face, and it might be a slightly different flavor, but that inner wound is still magnetizing the same thing, because the universe is wanting us to clear these codes of energy. It's wanting us to clear up the archetypes, it's wanting us to clear the stories. So when we have this primary code of whatever, and particularly, you know, if we've had a hard ride, this is then what, like, what's the word, like strengthens the victim energy, because it's like, this is my story and I'm just getting proof of it all the time. Nobody's there for me, blah, 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 blah. Whatever the thing is, I will be abandoned, I will be hurt, I will be betrayed. Constantly like gathering more and more evidence of like, oh, and then, you know, to then try and come out of that victim space, it's like, well, no, because here's all the evidence. But actually, we are creating it, you know. The whole thing of becoming conscious is that it's like, in my terminology, us steering the ship of our reality and taking fierce responsibility. So yeah, it wasn't your fault what happened when you gained that imprint, but your soul said, yo, I want that imprint because I can fucking transform it. So if you're then not doing the transforming, yourself's not going to be very impressed, is it? And the beauty of this is, it's like, that's where our power is, you know. The transformation of these wonky imprints is where, like, we find love. And the love always is this internal space. And so we've got these imprints that we received, we've got this responsibility to journey it, because the thing that is the steering mechanism is the belief system. So the thing happened, the little us was like, oh, notes on the human experience, this is clearly a truth now, whack that on my chest, cool, walking around with this truth. Don't really like that it's a truth, but everything seems to be confirming that it's a truth. Oh my god, what does this mean about me? But then if we can go like, ooh, that's an interesting belief that I've been carrying around, I'm going to dismantle that. The dismantling of that also has this other side of it, which is like, and how do I meet those needs? You know, what do I need in that moment? How can I ask for what I need and not demand? You know, there's this really interesting trajectory that I've journeyed for the past few years of like, total self-abandonment was my coding, which obviously with that comes then this weird manipulative, like, gotta get my needs met somehow, to then like, okay, I can speak now and ask for what I need. And then that being like, and obviously the other person has to do what I say. It's like, oh God. But now there's this really wonderful space that's opening, and I've kind of been journeying it with my partner, of like, we have all these parts of us that deserve to be witnessed and heard, and that have experienced so many different things, and they're all welcome to be at the table, and they're all welcome to say what they need to say, and all welcome to be witnessed. And higher self us, queen or king us, whatever it is, mother or father us, or, you know, the person that's at like the head of the table is able to like negotiate to be like really honouring that. But there's also this bigger picture. Can you see the bigger picture? And this is why that thing can't happen like that. So there's this really like, and this is what I mean with White Dog being my Wavespell, like this has been a really big part of my journey. You know, I've been so wonky in relationship. But then as we journey the wonk of relationship, as we dismantle the beliefs that we have around relationship, as we take fierce responsibility, as we begin to meet our needs, then the White Dog magic comes in. Like we find our pack, we find our tribe, and it's not rooted on wonk. It's like sovereign beings coming together and loving. You know, and the other piece of White Dog is love. It is heart. It is like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to love and be loved, to love myself and love externally. You know, to have both those relationships in, because what often we've found, you know, we've conditioned ourselves into is like, you love the other and you abandon self in that relationship internally. Once you're confronted with the other, shoop. But actually, like, how do we maintain both? You know, how do we allow like real unconditional love and unconditional love for self, unconditional love for other? And that's not to say that it's without boundaries, you know, so maybe it's not unconditional. But there's a piece of this in, you know, the White Dog and this relationship theme, which is also, yeah, the boundaries and the shifts. So learning how to, you know, as we honour those needs, as we create that different relationship within, that means that different boundaries might need to be put in place. But those deeper boundaries create deeper love. You know, there's like the honour. The honour is the love. The devotion is the love. So during this Wavespell, your core family imprint might bubble up. You might have a chance to see where you are with it. There might be moments where that inner child is feeling really like, oh, fuck. But if you journey it, there's then space in your heart and in your being for the relationships that you really want to be living, for the love that you're really seeking. But it starts with self. So you also might meet new soulmates. You might have really wonderful tribe experiences during this Wavespell, because it is about the pack. So there's probably going to be like the gathering of soulmates that happens too. But again, just noticing like how you feel in community, who you are in community, recognizing that as like the family imprint from when you were younger, and doing the work accordingly. So as I say, you know, it's also the end of the year, so we've got a real completion energy coming in the first few days, and then a real rebirth. So maybe it is going to be that, you know, the first few days of this Wavespell we might be really journeying that inner stuff, and then we might expand outward, or it might be that it's a bit of both all the time, and that's okay. And you know, the beautiful thing with these archetypes and journeys, you know, I've heard people say like, oh, I just don't like that Wavespell, that archetype. But it's just because we're all at different stages of evolution with each of the archetypes, and our experience therefore is different depending on what kind of vibration we've, you know, some of them come naturally to us. It's like, oh, I've always buzzed off that Wavespell. But for other people it's like, oh, because that's a part of the coding that they've chosen to journey, to shift. So just go with it. Go with it and see, and have a really wonderful day out of time on Tuesday. You know, if you can, drop into some kind of celebratory experience for you, for us, and just be in that like, yeah, life vibe. And then on the 26th of July, which is the Wednesday, just feeling into like what it is that you're wanting to lean in toward for this coming year of White Overton Wizard. A year of alchemy, a year of building, a year of the rung up from 2019 and all the amazing work internally that we did then. So I send you so much love and so much gratitude for journeying this year with me. If you've been tuning in and welcoming the people that are like new to this whole thing, and yeah, it's a good life, innit? Particularly with this modality, like what the fudge. So grateful for it.
And all of the people that I've met through it, like I've met my fucking tribe through the Galactic Mayan Calendar. Nice one, Spirit. Alright, darlings, so much love.